So this is motorcycle racing 4T 10W40 oil. Mobile one, very important if you have a scooter that isn't a piece of crap. It's the bolt right behind the spring on the kickstand. Okay, so what I do is I drain all the oil and then you lean it to the left and let the oil come out. And then you put the plug in, or I put the plug in, and I put in a couple ounces of oil and let them kind of go through and sit for a second. And then I drain those also. The new oil, it's just like a really mild flush. It's not like anything special. It's not gonna fix any problems or anything, but it's definitely, in my opinion, it's better than just putting in oil and going, because at least this way it gets out some of the stuff that sits in the bottom, hopefully. So then you let that drain out and it'll obviously look pretty clean. The dirtier it looks, the better, because that means it's actually getting. And you get one of these funnels with the long spout like this. I mean, they're like $2 at any auto care store. You can just stick it in there and just sit nice and perfect. And wait on pours of oils is so about halfway there. I'm right at in there, or you can spill some, or there could be more in the funnel than you're aware of. So when you pull a dipstick out, this is just a little dipstick checking class. You can tell where it's wet, and then you can tell where it's not wet, and that's the level of the oil. Anywhere on this stick is considered right, but you don't want it to be that low. So basically, I need to add a very small amount. And when you take the dipstick out, there's going to be more oil on the bottom side than the top side. So you've got to kind of check it really quick. You got to put it straight in, and then take it straight out and look at it. And you want to put in, I think you should use the oil that I'm using right now. It's 10W40, this Mobile One Racing 4T synthetic stuff has been, I mean, I've tried to change it every 600 miles, but there have been a couple times where it was a substantially longer than that, and it's run really good on this stuff. This is the only thing I've ever put in the scooter. This is part of the oil. So when you flush the oil, you then are starting from 0. Except there's a tiny little bit in there. You don't want to go over 0.6. You gotta use the dipstick to measure and all that. I can't tell whether this is oil. Where's the socket wrench? Here it is. This is actually not a socket wrench. This is a torque wrench, which is a pretty good thing to have when you're doing.
How's it spelled?
What? Torque?
Yeah.
T-O-R-Q-U-E, just like.
Ooh, just like the guy in Black Ops 4.
Yeah, well, because that's what that came from. They came from the same thing.
Well, how does torque work? Like
torque is radial force. And torque wrenches, it means that when you push it, instead of having no idea how hard to turn, it'll turn to the amount of pressure, or the amount of weight, newtons, foot-pounds, inch-pounds. So you can set it, and then if you turn it to it'll basically, it'll release at the maximum tightness you want it to be. So you can't over tighten bolts is the point. Because you want to tighten bolts to the point they need to be tightened, but you really don't want to over tighten bolts. It actually is almost just as bad as under tightening bolts.